We want to go a little deeper now. Joining us is Senator Brandon Creighton, the author of Senate Bill 2. Welcome.
Thank you. Appreciate you having me.
Thank you for being here. I know it's been a busy week, but before the vote to concur, we heard concerns from both sides of the aisle, like things like online schools, children of lawmakers receiving ESA benefits. In some cases, you said that you have been open to legislation to address those concerns. Why not try to do that in SB 2 itself instead of coming back with other legislation?
Yeah, you know, we've got a strong framework of supports for the students that need help the most, and that's always been the goal and the objective for the design of the ESA itself. And as many states have done all over the nation, as 2/3 of the country have adopted expanded school choice, we're following the same pattern, that the bones of the program itself and the goals within it, we feel very comfortable where we've landed on these.
So are you saying that at some point in the future, whether it's this session or maybe next session, there is the chance that the ESA program could be revisited?
Certainly. I mean, we had a great discussion yesterday, Senator Perry from Lubbock and I, as you mentioned, related to online schools and online learning, and he had concerns that there might be an uptick in the number of students that would fall into those categories, and ultimately, you know, we want students in-person learning to the greatest extent that we possibly can, but online learning is also very important as well. We have students that have been victims of human trafficking, that have been victims of bullying, that have survived fentanyl, that have a certain special needs where those online learning opportunities are important, and they're included in the legislation.
You know, there has been some talk about the state's poorest students and how this might not make a difference for them. Can you talk a little bit about that?
Yes, I mean, there are 74 school choice programs across the country, nearly 34 states now. And one thing that we know for sure from the data is that student outcomes increase, safety increases, college readiness increases. The feedback from the parents by survey is incredible. All of these different metrics have been positive from the opportunities across the country. We want Texas students to have those same opportunities, and we're going to do our best to deliver on those. So I'm very comfortable with where we've landed for the students that need help the most.
I know that some of these private schools do offer financial aid and scholarships. In some cases, that won't be enough.
Well, you have some of the greatest amount of philanthropy in the great state of Texas, as an example, compared to any other place in the nation. And so, you know, I believe that if there's a delta in an additional need for what a private school would cost for tuition, I believe that need will be served. And we've got impressive organizations that are ready to provide that kind of assistance. One of them alone has, I believe, almost $30 million in philanthropy to help students now without the ESA when they have a private school opportunity and they don't quite have the money for tuition. But our bill serves $10,000 as a base amount for the ESA and up to $30,000 for special needs. The average tuition for private schools in Texas is $9,500.
Yeah, we spoke with some of the schools that serve students with special needs. You mentioned the $30,000 was kind of that top cap of everything, but
Right.
Their tuition often goes much higher than that, and they have told us they would not be able to fill those scholarship amounts in the gap there.
Well, the school may not be able to fill the delta or any kind of a tuition gap, but there are many organizations across the state that help with this, and I've been very impressed, not because of the ESA, but just because of what they do now for students in their private school experience. But look, at the end of the day, the school choice program is voluntary for families to join or apply for. If their public schools or their current education setting is already serving their students with special needs in a way that would be superior to what they would find in a school choice opportunity, an ESA opportunity, well, then they're going to stay with their current path in education. And that's really what expanded school choice is all about, is the parents being able to decide between options.
For students with special needs, I know that you mentioned kind of that amount that goes from 11,500 all the way up to 30,000.
Sure.
There will be an evaluation that the state has to do on each of those students to decide how much each one gets, correct?
That's correct.
How does that work?
Well, the parents of the applying ESA or potential recipient of the ESA, the parents can ask for an evaluation just to know, is it dyslexia that their student has special need challenges with, or is it autism? Is there something further along the spectrum of different challenges that our students face across the state? And that's federal law now. There's no change in the bill related to the evaluations that can be obtained and offered as an opportunity for our parents to know exactly what their students need, and it'll be consistent with this bill passing in the same category.
So the state kind of already has these vendors that do these evaluations, but we're talking about a lot of money now. So how will the state ensure that the organizations or the groups that are conducting those evaluations are doing them right?
Sure. Well, the same way that it happens without the ESA bill. There's been a large uptick in the number of requests without the ESA legislation across the state for parents asking for their children to be evaluated. That's actually one of the reasons why we need more options and expanded options in school choice in Texas, as Florida and so many other states have seen so much progress for not just their public schools, but also the kids and the students that opt for the use of the ESA. It's just been incredible data on the performance overall with all of these options on the table. And those evaluations, they're required by federal law, and there's nothing that changes that in this bill. They'll continue to be available.
Since we're talking about oversight and transparency there, overall, the ESA program, how are you going to go back next session and make sure that what we've seen in the 2 years prior is actually working?
Sure, it's a great question. The one thing that is important and what we've seen from data across the nation is for a new school choice plan like Texas will have, we need to build an appropriate runway with the right kind of supports and the framework to truly help the families with a successful launch. So our opportunities within Senate Bill 2 for our families across the state, that will start in 26 and 27 to make sure that there's appropriate time for the comptroller to build this program. And so we'll be back in session in January of 27 to make any needed adjustments or calibrations, as we always do with any bill that we pass.
And that could include some oversight of how everything is going.
Certainly could. There's great oversight in the legislation now, but there will always be on the finance side or the technology side some type of adjustment that we'll need to make with the feedback that we receive, and that's what the legislature does. We monitor the bills that we pass. We're reviewing 10,000 bills now. We'll pass about 1,000 of them, and for those bills that pass related to education or the grid or the border, healthcare, whatever those bills may be, we're always coming back in to monitor the need for adjustments.
So many Texans have raised concerns that education savings accounts could take resources from public schools, which serve most Texas students. You've called that a manufactured narrative.
Yes.
Why?
Well, it's clear in the numbers and in our budgets that with the nearly $100 billion of investment that we're putting into Texas public schools across our 5.4 million public school students, you can do the math right there on how much that is per student. So we put more money into our public school students than Florida does, even though they're number one in the nation because of school choice passing. Their public schools have risen from 34th to 1st in over 5 to 6 different major metrics. Our public schools are going to get better with school choice, but on the funding, we normally average about $2 billion a biennium in new dollars for our public schools. We're at between 6 and 8 billion now, so nearly a 3 to 4 times factor on the amount of new dollars we put into our schools. And the largest teacher pay raise in Texas history was also my bill that is permanent. It's not a bonus or a stipend, but the Senate plan makes that permanent. So I think that as we land the plane at the end of session with all the policies and the funding and the supports for our public schools and public school teachers, we will have so much to celebrate, and it will be a model for the nation.
Could you commit to coming back next session and agreeing to look at how public schools have been impacted by ESAs?
Of course. We always will be monitoring impact, and we'll hear from our superintendents and our teachers, but we'll also at the same time be crunching the numbers through the comptroller's office on the revenue side and the impact with what we consider to be a very responsible plan. Our school choice plan will serve 1.8% of public school students. That's below enrollment growth. And we continue to fund enrollment growth plus new dollars for public schools in historic ways as a budget culture. This math works. And at the end of the day, we're always having to make adjustments on the dollars. What we're looking out for are the students. Not control or not power, not institutions, not politics. We're looking out for kids that need help the most and to make sure their families, they make the decisions on the path and education that's best for them.
So you've got this down, obviously, because you've been fighting for this for well over a decade in the legislature. What does this final vote for final passage mean to you?
It means so much to me because it's somewhat tragic that a narrative has been built that you can't support your public schools and public school teachers and all the students that rely on public schools, and also build a framework for additional options for kids that need help the most. The bill being called a scam or a rich kid bill and all of those false narratives, we know who this bill is going to be helping, and we're so happy to be at this point in time to see the passage of the legislation, and the bill soon will be headed to the governor's desk. And these families that are going to get help from this expanded option in education, just seeing their faces and understanding the potential and future for these kids is all I'll ever need as a legislator when I look back on my career.
All right, Senator Brandon Creighton, thank you so much for being with us.
Thank you so much.